I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump is taken to his social media platform and posting a number of just completely deranged posts as he continues to swirl the drain, as Fox has called him out as being the cause of the Republicans' problems during the midterm elections, as the New York Post has called Donald Trump Humpty Trumpty. We know Donald Trump has the thinnest skin of them all and that he loves to give it, but trust me, Donald Trump cannot take it for a second. And so let's just show you what he's been posting now, which just shows you the rantings and ravings of a lunatic that America, by and large, rejected on Tuesday. This brand of weird cult behavior. Trump writes on his social media platform, he goes, "For those many people that are being fed the fake narrative from the corrupt media that I am angry about the midterms, don't believe it. I am not at all angry. Did a great job. I wasn't the one running and am very busy looking into the future. Remember, I am a stable genius," he writes. And in another post, he writes, "Despite having picked so many winners, I have to put up with the fake news. For me, Fox News was always gone, even in 2015, 2016, when I began my, quote, journey, but now they're really gone. Such an opportunity for another media outlet to make an absolute fortune and do good for America. Let's see what happens." And he is quoting something he said a few hours before that, where he goes, "Yet the fake news writes only unrecognizable junk. No wonder they are all doing so badly." Look, I'm just showing you a sample of the posts because there are dozens of others. And as I've said before on the MeidasTouch Network, like, if you knew someone, a friend, a family member, a coworker, and you saw them doing 40 or 50 posts in the morning about topics that may be very normal, and benign, maybe they're posting about sports or bird watching or a hobby or their favorite movie, you'd be like, hey, are you okay? Like, why are you posting so many times and so frantically? Like, is everything all right? Donald Trump does this basically every day, where he posts 40 to 50 things like in the morning, and not benign stuff. I mean, now just literally spreading conspiracies and hate, fully leaning in to QAnon. We've talked about here on the MeidasTouch Network. And look, we'll put this up right here, which is after Nancy Pelosi's home was invaded and she was the target of an attempted murder and her husband was nearly killed and is recovering in ICU. What did Donald Trump post? He posted a photo of himself with the QAnon slogan, "Where we go one, we go all," which is the QAnon mantra. And by the way, that slogan and what QAnon says is going to happen and what they promote is that Donald Trump is going to seize control of the government during a coup and have public executions of all of the leaders who support our democracy. That is the QAnon belief of where we ultimately all go. That is like the conclusion of the mythology that they create in their deranged, hateful, disgusting, murderous cult. What we've been saying here on the MeidasTouch Network is, though, Americans are paying attention to this stuff. And I'm not showing you these posts of, Donald Trump just so I can be like, ha, 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 isn't this funny? No, we need to recognize, and America, I believe, by and large did. There were some disappointments during the midterms, but by and large recognized the clear and present danger that Trumpism, that MAGA, that this QAnon stuff, the clear and present danger that all of that plays, infecting our society and harming Americans, killing Americans, and frankly, doing the bidding of our enemies, like Vladimir Putin, who wants to destroy our country by utilizing individuals here sympathetic to pro-Putin propaganda to harm the interests of Americans. Now, we can go through some of these posts that Trump made and give you some additional context here. So let's just do it in reverse order. So the one where he talks about Fox News being fake news, and that even in 2015, 2016, when he began his journey, Fox was never good enough for him. So we've done previous reporting on this already since the midterms, that Rupert Murdoch has turned, by and large, the machinery of his media entities against Donald Trump, as it was clear that Donald Trump was one of the factors, but it was also the Republicans overall embracing authoritarianism, taking freedoms away from women, attacking American people, spreading hate, attacking our democracy. But one of the factors that Fox is blaming and Rupert Murdoch is blaming is Trump. So there have been a lot of postings, even here, we'll pull this one up right now, where Fox had posted on Truth Social as a message to Trump how weak Donald Trump is and how Donald Trump was to blame. And Fox posted this on Truth Social. And in addition, in the Murdoch-owned New York Post, there is the cover page which calls Trump Humpty Trumpty or Trumpty Humpty, or we'll pull it up for you right there, demonstrating how weak and fragile Donald Trump is and how, in Murdoch's view, he is the cause of Republicans' plight. But as you go into this too, when he goes, for those many people who are being fed the fake narrative from the corrupt media, he goes, I'm not at all angry, did a great job. I wasn't the one running. That's an important line there too, I think we need to focus on, where he goes, I wasn't the one running. Well, if you are a leader of a political party, of an organization, of anything, if you are a leader, leaders take accountability. Leaders uplift others. That's what makes you, or that's what should make you, a leader. And one of the problems among the many, but one of the things always about this MAGA extremist movement, though, was its cult behavior with no accountability in leadership, which to me is just so completely anathema to what we believe as Americans. Believing in accountability, believing in transparency, believing in meritocracy, believing in competency, believing in our institutions. That's what always made America such a special place. And Trump would undermine all of that, and it would always just be me, 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 me. You know, and right before the election, Trump said words to the effect of, if it's a great day, it will be because of me. If it's a bad day, it won't be my fault at all. And that's just the complete opposite of what a leader does. And look, that's probably very obvious to you, but the fact that the Republicans for so long, and look, we'll see what they do, you know, in the weeks to come, in the coming days as well, and how they are going to deal with Trump. But that to have such this clear, narcissistic, dangerous, not stable genius, this hateful, spiteful person that no matter what you do, he will always throw you under the bus. Americans took notice of that. Americans recognized that. But frankly, Fox didn't. I mean, Fox right now is going after him, but Fox was fully captured by Trump and didn't hold him accountable. And the people like Kevin McCarthy would just outright exalt that MAGA extremism, the culture wars, the hate, the divisiveness. And, you know, people like Ted Cruz, who Donald Trump would attack and say that he was a serial killer and his dad's a killer and that his wife is ugly, would just run to Donald Trump's defense, and not just to his defense, but to promote him as a genius. And it's like, what is going on here? I think Americans, one of the most special things about the midterm election results is that Americans just said enough of that. And especially as you go into the independent voters, I want to pull up these stats right here because the independent voters are special. Like, go into Pennsylvania. Independents split 58 to 38 in favor of Fetterman. You go to Arizona, for example. Independents split 55 to 39 in favor of Kelly over the MAGA extremist Masters. You go into Georgia, independents split 53 to 42 in favor of Warnock. And it's obvious because independents, we've been talking about this on the MeidasTouch network, right? Independents, former Republicans, Democrats formed this pro-normal, pro-democracy coalition where we all said, look, we may disagree on issues. We may disagree. We definitely disagree. Heck, I'm a Democrat. I don't agree with what the Democrats do all the time. A lot of times I have disagreements with the Democrats, but I think that's normal. That's the way politics should be. But I always knew that they were adults, that they're competent people in the room who are leaders and who are trying to solve difficult problems, and they are talking about these problems, and they are confronting the problems and having those discussions with the American people. While the MAGA Republicans are posting all of their just weird and misogynistic and disgusting memes and Trump memes and putting Trump with a fake six-pack on the American flag, and all that weird stuff, pro-democracy Democrats, what are we talking about? We're talking about how do we make healthcare accessible and affordable for all? How do we make sure that everyone has the best education that we can possibly offer? How do we make sure that we bring manufacturing jobs overseas to right here in the United States? Manufacturing jobs that were overseas to right here in the United States, like what we did with the CHIPS Act, bringing semiconductor industry jobs right here in the United States. And for all workers, while Republicans are fighting to keep the most minimum wage possible and talk about trickling down, their trickle-down economics, trickling down billionaires, hopefully that they give money to people, what Democrats are talking about. We're saying not only should there be a living wage where people can barely live, how do we give people a wage with dignity? How do we make sure that people who put in a hard day's work are compensated in a way that they feel comfortable and that they are dignified for the work that they do, and that we make sure working conditions are great and that working conditions, will be reflective of compassion? How are we sympathetic to all people? How do we treat all human beings with dignity? How do we protect the freedoms of women, the freedoms of all, the reproductive rights of women? How do we protect reproductive rights of women? That's what Democrats are talking about. That's what pro-democracy is talking about. That's what the pro-normal coalition is talking about. And meanwhile, MAGA extremists are talking about, oh, I'm a stable genius, I'm this, I'm that. Enough of that. Enough of that. Look, am I glad that Fox right now is taking steps to repudiate Trump? Sure. But we need to see if that's just going to be a day or two thing, or what? Are MAGA Republicans still going to be a thing? Are we going to have to deal with election deniers all the time, where their number one thing they talk about is overturning the results of the 2020 election, as Americans want to address real issues? We'll see. But one thing we know for sure is Donald Trump right now is flailing. He is completely losing his mind. And I want to read you this quote finally from Rick Wilson, which he just posted. He said, "You don't want to be in Mar-a-Lago right now. Trump either has to make a bad decision or be seen as a coward." I'll leave you with that. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. So please hit the subscribe right now. Subscribe button. We just passed 700,000 subs, so hit subscribe. Also, become a Patreon of the MeidasTouch Network. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Become a patron by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There's lots of great exclusive membership packages there for you to join with exclusive content you can only get on Patreon. But most importantly, it will help grow this independent media platform. And I think we all know now the importance of independent media platforms like this. And we're not funded by any outside investors at all. So we're purely fueled by you. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.